Have you been struggling with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder? If so, watch this video to learn about how to tackle it from a flow state perspective. Let's get it.
Yeah. I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumedh Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today we're talking about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, first of all, I want to give a disclaimer right here. This is not medical advice. Please advise your medical professional if you are looking towards getting more solid advice from a medical standpoint, treatment standpoint, okay? However, what I can say from a psychological lens and from a flow state lens is that, is it really a disorder? Okay, because this whole disorder is about order. Obsessive compulsive order, would that be right to say? But it's an obsessive order. Okay, start to understand this. Now, to a very, very extreme level, this can be very debilitating, time consuming, stressful. It can make you very anxious. It can make you very fearful. And it can bring you into the past or into the future. But mostly it's about these intrusive thoughts, these thoughts that just come in a million miles per hour into your mind, and you just can't stop it. These intrusive thoughts that keep coming in and again. And some people have this stereotypical idea of OCD. It's like, making sure everything looks perfect, or like washing your hands, okay? That's a hypochondriac, okay? We have to first start to label things correctly, okay? So just because you're more detail-oriented or you like organizing things doesn't make you OCD. Okay, that's the first myth that we have to break. We have to break some of these myths first and foremost, right? The second one is it's not always about washing hands. It doesn't have to be. It could be related to your OCD. It doesn't have to be, okay? That's the first thing to understand. So really, when you're struggling with this, mainly it's about these intrusive thoughts. Because of these thoughts, it affects your behavior. So you feel that you have to do a specific behavior, and that will get rid of those thoughts. Actually, that might not be the case at all. You might be doing these behaviors, but they actually make the thoughts worse, or the thoughts more stronger, because you're actually in the habit of it, right? You're actually reinforcing the activity, and you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that if I do these certain activities, everything will be fine. Okay, checking for your keys 5 times is okay, but every time checking for your keys 5 times is a little bit suspicious, right? Like, there's something deeper going on. There's a problem underneath the problem that we must tackle first. The thing to understand is OCD is associated with a low level of serotonin. That means the amygdala is also activated, right? Because serotonin modulates the amygdala, or the fear response, right? So you feel this fear if you don't, count backwards every time you do something, or you have to do something every time 6 times, only 6 times. These different ritualistic or repetitive behaviors, right? That's kind of how we see OCD in popular culture and in movies and TV shows and all this kind of stuff. It's time to understand that, first of all, you have to deal with the serotonin. Are you getting enough sunlight? Are you having high tryptophan foods? Are you exercising 3 to 5 times a week? Are you planning things out for the long term, not just for the short term? Right? And these things can also become very problematic for a person with OCD, because they'll start researching something, right? Let's say you're trying to research OCD and you found this video, right? You're going to be researching to the depth until it's like almost there's no research out there anymore, right? That's a part of that mechanism of the brain, right? Because it's in such a fear state, it's looking for all the solutions out there. Give me anything, I'll try anything, right? And so some of these people, they go into trying out all these alternative healing methods, modern healing methods, medical healing methods, and nothing seems to really click for them. It's about you creating a relationship with that frantic nature, or that obsessive self. And I want you to really think of this. You have an obsessive self, this part of your persona that wants to keep you safe, that wants to keep you protected. And so it is latched onto certain behavioral traits or cues or actions that make you soothe your inner dialogue or your inner critic. The first thing to understand is Dr. Penzel said a bunch of these things, right? Is to expect the unexpected. When you expect the unexpected, you are okay with the unknown. You understand that I'm okay with not knowing. I actually love not knowing. It's an adventure now rather than a fear of something bad that might happen. So the first thing is really using CBT or cognitive behavior therapy to reframe something negative that might happen to something positive that might happen. OCD can also sometimes be linked to superstition. It doesn't have to, again, but it can. And these things maybe were put into our heads when we were very young. Okay, maybe we had a very religious or a very regulated upbringing where you had to follow the rules. There was no other choice. So growing up in such strict households can make us very fearful that if we don't do certain activities or certain things, that we'll get punished for it. Okay? So first of all, it's about starting your process of deconditioning. The next thing is to understand is to accept the risk involved with certain aspects of your life, because risk can also be a flow state trigger. You just got to use it in the right way. It can make you way more focused and way more concentrated on what to do to solve that issue that you're currently going through. The other thing is not to constantly seek reassurance from other people and yourself. They're not the ones who are struggling with this, you are, right? So when you start to drag everybody into it, it starts to create more chaos, right? But you want order. So that's another part of the compulsion itself, is you constantly seek reassurance that, am I okay? Is this okay for me? Can I do this right? Am I doing this correctly? Why are you so annoyed at me, right? All these different things. Now, some of these things that I might be telling you, they might be hitting you very directly. And I understand that. However, it's time to understand and take power over this, because that is really at your most core level, right? You understand you are a mix of both hemispheres. You have chaos and order, both in one beingness. And that's what's happening. But you've created so much order that the chaos doesn't know where to go. So one advice that I would say is to get around and being comfortable with more chaos. What am I saying? Going to the roughest pub in the town and ask for a fight? No, not necessarily. However, what I am saying is you want to start to practice being okay in the situations that you think will bring you fear. You go through it anyway and you realize it's not that big of a deal. What this does is it breaks the cognitive distortions or the patterns that you've been noticing. You think, I can never talk to men ever again. And then you finally talk to a guy and you actually get along. Whoa! That's weird. I thought guys weren't like this. What's going on, right? So that it's going to break the certain loop of the mind. It's going to break the pattern of the mind. Get to this point where you don't care about the thoughts anymore. And the way you do that is by accepting it, agreeing with them. They don't have to be correct. Nobody's saying that those are real thoughts. Nobody is saying that there are any real answers within them. But you're going, yeah, okay, I agree. Okay, yeah, I got you. You're listening to that obsessive character that's telling you these different things, and you're going, yeah, okay, I agree. But what you're really translating, the subtext underneath that is, I don't care. I don't care. And are you making this character more entitled? That you're agreeing with them constantly? Well, try the opposite. Try not agreeing. Try creating more resistance and tension around it. That's not real. No, I can't. You're fighting now with yourself. There's an inner battle or conflict now. So to resolve the inner conflict, you want to come from the frequency of acceptance and I agree. Okay? Hey, make sure you lock the door. There's a robber that's going to come in. I agree. I agree. That's definitely a valid thing and a valid fear. So I'm going to lock it, knowing that I've locked it with certainty. And getting to that place of certainty where you're like, I will handle the consequences as they come up. I'm the weaver, I'm the adapter, I'm the spontaneous one that can deal with it after the fact. The moment has happened. This makes you more like water. Stopping or preventing these thoughts are going to create more chaos in the mind. You can't try to stop a thought. A thought is very immediate. It's instant. You have a certain image on TV, you might get triggered to a certain thought. Right? Are you going to keep switching off your TV and never watch TV or Netflix or whatever again? That could be one solution to the problem. However, what you're doing is you're creating an avoidance strategy instead of an exposure strategy. What I'm telling you is to create more of an exposure strategy. You watch these movies, you feel the pain, you feel the fear, you feel the resistance. I am safe. You go through the process of actually feeling through these emotions and start to understand that a lot of people need your order. A lot of people need to get their lives in more structure. Instead of looking at this like, what's wrong with me? Start to look at it as what's right with me. What are the benefits of me actually, doing some of these things? One of my past clients, I just spoke to him yesterday. He's struggling with praying. I'm not going to name your name for confidentiality purposes, but praying all the time. He has to pray all the time. Every single time they're praying. Thinking that that's going to bring them good luck or, run away from some kind of a fear or fear-based response. That oftentimes them doing that activity gets them more into their fear. And that causes more frustration, and it starts to cause a disrupt with family and other people and work and all these different things, right? So understand that when you actually take power over these thoughts and start to expose them and see through the superstition and understand what's happening, and know that you've tried everything and you're here watching this video after a long stream of attempts. Just remember that your symptoms are your responsibility to handle. They're nobody else's. And there are some people willing to help. Listen to those people, listen to your therapist. If you're to work with me, you would listen to me and follow through on the different things that I'm telling you. Okay? But don't make it so much about this thing, because that's the thing that's running you. It's like I give you homework, you have to do it meticulously. Right? But what about doing certain activities that break that paradigm? Try writing with messy handwriting. Try doing things imperfectly and seeing what the result is, just to experiment in this simulation that we call LIFE, life. Learning Integration Freedom Emulator, that's life. The last thing that I would say is try as much as you can to not compare yourself to others. You might be seeing others in their progress. You might be seeing, hey, this person has a messy room and they're completely fine with it. But when you start to make your symptoms compare to them, you start to get frustrated. But you're looking at things that you can't control, which is another person's actions, or another person's behaviors that might be frustrating you further because they are maybe not as organized as you, or maybe not as compulsive as your behaviors are. So what tends to happen is it causes a lot of rift in relationships with others. But this comparison trap is really what stops a lot of people from accessing that peace of mind and that gentleness and that self-compassion within, where you put a hand on your heart and you go, "Aw." Which is tapping into your inner child. This process is really about you taking power over these intrusive thoughts. Let them do what they need to do. At the end of the day, you're coming in with these thought palaces where you start to organize your thoughts into little boxes now, right? And you tell yourself, like, no, those thoughts are not me in the sense of me, the greatest sense of I or me. When I say I, it's the most loving and wisest person of myself. I don't mean I when I'm acting from insecurity, or I'm being a people pleaser, or I'm speaking from OCD, or I'm speaking from some other, label that I've given myself or has been placed upon me by society or by a practitioner. I'm talking about really understanding that I, in the greatest sense of the word, is the spiritual being at the end of the day. And when I can give my attunement to that, instead of having it run me and fearing that, like this guy who's praying all the time, right? You can actually be one of the most greatest strategists on the planet. Who has OCD? Donald Trump has OCD. Jessica Alba was famously diagnosed with OCD. Charlize Theron, Howard Stern, Nicolas Cage. Okay, so the journey doesn't stop here. You can keep succeeding with this process. You can make your meticulous and detail-oriented nature and take you to great heights. But it's doing it from a space of love and not fear. And that's the biggest difference. There's a certain sound file, I want you to listen to it. It's linked in the description of my bio. Go listen to that right now. It'll bring you relief from your intrusive thoughts. Having said that, have an amazing day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it today, guys. Boom.